Time is now 6:04. I call the June 4th meeting of the Economic Development Subcommittee to order. Note to residents, all citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 or Verizon Channel 29. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using this number, 1-929-205-6099. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens may join a Zoom webinar using the information provided below. Meetings are recorded and archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. The details for the Zoom webinar are ID number 89222215968. If you wish to speak, please enter your full name and email address when joining the webinar. And you can also look at the agenda on the Franklin website to get the information for the meeting. So first order of business, it's not on the agenda, but if there's no objection, I want to see if there's any citizens' comments. Any objection? Hearing none. Any citizens who wish to speak? None? Okay, that's okay. No, that's good. It's good. Okay. Upcoming events, number 2. Cory, we have a wonderful guest, Cory Shea, for the cultural director of. What is your full title, Cory? I'm sorry, I don't have it down. I should have it by now.
Hey, that's okay. There's no judgment here. It's the director of arts, culture, and the creative economy.
Okay. So there were a lot of words. So
there are a lot of words. Yeah. Okay. So don't worry, you got it. Well, hi everybody, I'm back, it's me. I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about our upcoming World Cup watch parties. And I have a presentation linked up.
Are we doing restaurant week or any of that other stuff?
Oh, I'm sorry. Those other things, sure, yes.
You thought we're right in the middle of it?
Yeah.
We could have done it, we should have done the meeting at a restaurant.
I could have done that.
That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah. Should I have ordered us pizza? That would have been very cool of me.
Either or would have been great, but.
But we have Restaurant Week, that's so hard to say. It's happening currently. We have over 10 restaurants that are currently participating. And when I was looking at our Instagram metrics today, we're getting a lot of traffic in regards to other restaurants that are posting about what they're doing, as well as people engaging with our social media, which Liz, our director of communications, has set up. So far it's been great. Actually, let me look it up real quick. Great feedback from everybody. It's a perfect opportunity also for people to go grab gift cards for teachers. It's the perfect gift for the end of the year, as well as being able to go sit outside on the deck and have a beverage. It's beverage season, everybody. So go out and support the rest of the restaurants that we have enrolled. And just a quick metric check-in. So we have over 800 eyes on our most recent Instagram post for Restaurant Weeks, which is great for us, for our feeds.
I'm sorry, Cory, you said 800?
800 eyeballs on our Instagram for the most recent post. Here, let me move this mic over. And after that we wrap Restaurant Week, we'll be doing surveys and getting feedback from community members as well as the restaurants to see if there is a spike in their reservations and things like that too. So we'll report back, Liz and myself.
Any anecdotal information from them so far?
I have been in a World Cup tornado, so no, I haven't necessarily reached out. I've gone to a few of the places to get like coffee and snacks and things like that, and they've said that it's been fun, but nothing like,
Okay.
Yeah. All right, PorchFest. So I have so many fun things to talk about tonight. So PorchFest is happening this weekend. It's happening on Saturday, June 6th from 12 to 6 p.m. We have over 50 bands registered, ready to rock out on people's porches, mostly around the cultural district, which is great because that makes it accessible by the Franklin Dean train station, as well as walking to different venues. We have openers on the town common, and we also are having an opening ceremony / real kickoff at the Franklin Historical Museum with Jamie Barrett, so that'll be a lot of fun. And then the last bands cycle onto their porches and stages are between 5 and 5:30, and then everybody's wrapping at 6 p.m., which is another great opportunity to go out afterwards and grab a beverage and go hang out and have fun with your Franklin friends. We also will have the follow-up and metrics and all of that fun information too. I already linked up on our website today the survey for participants, as well as the porch hosts as well, so they can share their feedback and how we can better support them and our community members too in organizing everything.
Just pause there for a moment. I just wanted to ask if any of my fellow councilors had any questions regarding PorchFest or the previous topic we had.
Restaurant week.
Restaurant.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, I was going to ask, she already answered, I was going to ask how we can know
Good.
if Restaurant Week was
I
successful.
actually had one thing. I talked to Pete Fasciano from the TV studio, and so I was thinking maybe next year, if ahead of, like, a long time before the PorchFest, they could have recordings of the studio can record the people who are going to be at PorchFest, and then before they could play all the songs that they had as like a preview. And he said yes, as long as they're willing, you know.
Actually, I love that idea, like a playlist.
Yes.
That would be cool, like a town-wide playlist. Maybe we'll know that. Good feedback.
And when you're ready, you can continue.
Okay, great. Sorry, I jump around. I'm trying to be less neurospicy. All right. Great. So, FIFA World Cup, yes, it's happening. Back into the zone. So, myself and Ryan from the Recreation Department have been working alongside other regional partners in bringing together the Franklin World Cup watch parties. So this was a conversation that's been talked about the past 2 years since I've arrived, and it was always on the horizon. This World Cup's coming, it's happening. We gotta make this, a big deal for us. It's just a great opportunity to have fun with our community members, as well as the other side of making this work as an economic driver for the town of Franklin. So as I mentioned, myself and Ryan have been working with the Metro West Boston Visitors Bureau, as well as the town of Marlborough and the Marlborough Economic Development Corporation in this regional watch party. So the Marlborough watch parties are taking place on June 11th through the 13th, and then a little break in between, and then we have our parties on the 24th and 25th of June. And I'm going to launch into just a few slides to share. Oh, I'm disconnected. Is it showing
It's
up?
showing
Oh, okay.
now. It did go left
Okay.
for a second.
Yeah, the projector will take a second.
Okay. It's messing with my mind. All right. So this is just the general information. It's Wednesday, June 24th from 3 p.m. is the first game. Switzerland versus Canada, Scotland versus Brazil at 6 p.m. And this is just an opportunity to, the event is designed as a community gathering built around excitement over the World Cup. We have over 2 days of programs. Attendees will enjoy live match broadcasts on a giant jumbotron, along with some live music, family-friendly activities, food vendors, and also soccer activation activities. The event itself will run at 3 to 9 p.m. on both days. We have a community beer garden that will be set up at Hayward Manor that will be also running until 3 to 8:30 p.m. Our event goals. So as I just briefly was going over, this is a great opportunity for the town of Franklin as an economic driver. So how it's actually working for us is that by connecting ourselves to the Metro West World Cup Watch Party efforts, we're becoming part of a regional and cultural tourism network, specifically a campaign during a globally significant event. So just in my meetings and around the Mass Cultural Council and different Massachusetts organizations, I've heard actually a lot of feedback from other municipalities and these other community groups that were like, well, how did you actually do this? Which is always a fun way to start a conversation about a project. And I've been explaining to people that it was just something that my boss told me we had to do this, so I said, okay. And then also the fact of all the other aspects that I shared of it was going to be fun
You
for
picked
our
up for
community.
Amy technically.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
actually
I love soccer. But to bring it up in the sense of our regional community is that dealing with this international aspect and organization and trying to work with them in something that runs in its own silo and sector, it was tricky trying to put those pieces together and make it work in our regional aspect. And it just actually gave us a great blueprint of like, okay, this is how we can work as a region in the future, minus this international conglomerate. You know, it just gave like a great blueprint of how to work together, which I really do appreciate. It also, in the sense that it helped Franklin, in the marketing sense of put us in this destination community. So there are currently billboards that list Franklin Watch Party. We're in the Boston Globe. Every time we're mentioned on the news for a watch party, my family calls me and tells me about it, which is great. I'm like, thanks, Aunt Linda, you know, thanks for the update. And Sutton, you know, it's been really lovely just to hear all these snippets from my own family and everything as well. This event becomes an economic driver because it's encouraging visitors to spend time here, in the sense that the watch parties themselves are our way of having this reception, but overall the World Cup is going on for almost a month. So it's a way of having all these other visitors tap into our Franklin community, come to our Strawberry Stroll, come to our 4th of July festivities. And that's also what this other campaign that I dropped on your desk earlier today of the Cultural District Guide, just really sharing the narrative of our community and being engaging with these other people who might not necessarily come to Franklin. No. Oops. Sorry. So when this other topic of conversation, when the watch parties were coming out of planning and getting into the nitty gritty, like, all right, how are we really going to do this? Mott offered a grant. Thank God Mott did that, because they offered, we got $120,000 for this program to take place, which is really a huge feat. So it's split between it's split between Franklin and Marlboro, as well as the Metro West Visitors Bureau. And we also, which will be announced tomorrow in a press release, that we're getting an additional $50,000 dedicated to public safety from another Mott grant. So it's been a great program to bring into our town, but also not being a burden on our taxpayers. Here's where the fun really begins. Here's here's my art degree at work in Canva. So I wanted to share a general layout of what the festivities will look like. As I mentioned earlier, the jumbotron will be placed on Hayward Manor along with our community beer garden, and we're going to be closing down a section of Main Street in between the St. Mary's Church and the Federated Church. So that can become a pedestrian walkway. People can sit and have something to eat and hang with their families, and also be able to see the jumbotron screen from the common because of where it's positioned. The common itself will have food vendors, artisan vendors, soccer activations, and I say that in the sense of we have Franklin Youth Soccer coming and hosting some activities. So we're really hitting all the demographics here and all of the ages, which is just the best type of event where you can come and hang out with your family and relax, have a drink, play soccer, watch soccer, as well as support some local businesses. And we have a lot of Franklin businesses that are setting up shop for the couple of days, which is really great. We also will be having some live performances as well. So Electric Youth will be playing on the 25th as their Bon Voyage tour, because they're going off to Europe. We also have some other live music and artisans and lots of glow sticks for everybody to come and participate. Here's another beautiful art degree worthy view of what the jumbotron screen and everything would look like. And this is me just taking photos during our walkthrough and things, also just so I could continue to try to make this a fun, engaging, behind the scenes look in our social media, which I just posted actually on our Instagram earlier this week, which we got a great spike in engagement, which I'm like, all right, people love a walkthrough. So I've been posting more things like that as well. Here's another view. So now I'm on the common, and now you can see this is what it looks like. Ryan and I were standing there, and we were like, what about the trees? Is this gonna work? But from where the position of the screen is, it's like the perfect little window of where you can see the screen, which is great. Also, we have ADA viewing on the side of Hayward Manor, so we're really accommodating all folks who want to come out and support and cheer along their favorite teams. All right, so now kind of getting into the nitty-gritty and communication of all of this. So we're going to be centralizing this information on the Town of Franklin website opposed to the Franklin Culture website, just in case we need to do any inter-department updates. So just myself as a department of me has access to the Franklin Culture website, and it just made more sense if public safety or anybody else needed to update anything or quick information to use the town website. So that was, after talking it over with everybody, that was the plan that we decided to do moving forward. So beginning on June 22nd, I have currently a placeholder on the web. Actually, let me just show you. Sorry, should have thought about that earlier. So it's also called Franklin Welcomes the World, just some fun behind the scenes, just because licensing, and we weren't allowed to say FIFA or put it on anything. So it's also
That's
why
a better ring than FIFA anyway.
let's not get sued. That's my other favorite game to play.
That's a good.
I love soccer. Let's not get sued. All right. So this is under my department, and this is where all the nitty-gritty details will be living. So currently, I just have up this information of our community programming and coming 2026, and this is like all throughout the year, like what I was doing to prepare people, of just having it on the top of their minds. Last Strawberry Stroll, we did a Franklin Welcomes the World like cardboard drop-in art activity. We also had the Wreath of Franklin. The theme was Franklin Welcomes the World. To tie it back in, we had a lot of different community members participate in that. Sorry, I won't go like page by page here, but I just want to show you a little. So this is our Become Part of the Festivities, and this is the language that's connected directly to the Metro West Visitors Bureau. And this is if anybody wants to become a fan zone vendor or host an activation booth, this is where you would go to link up and do all of that. And spots are still open. We still have some vendor spots available if anybody's interested in participating in that. I'm sorry.
I just noticed you have the select a language feature, which might become important if we have international folks.
Exactly. We also, so Stacy worked extremely hard in getting a specific Metro West fan zone guide. So we'll have those in hand too, and those are also translated into different languages. So anyways, so this is the placeholder where information will live, but on June 22nd, that's when we're going to be posting the information about schedules, maps, parking, road closure updates, and vendor FAQs, volunteers, etc. Our goal was to make this information more about the general campaign of Franklin, and having the focus really be on the regional summer tourism, and then this being part of that. And then on June 22nd, like I said, that's when we'll publish the nitty-gritty of that information. Currently, that information is on the Metro West Visitors Bureau as well. So they've been because Marlboro is their timelines ahead of ours, so it just made sense for that to be published there. And part of figuring out the engagement of these games themselves is that we have a ticket. It's a free ticket, and it's just to really see where we're at, or how many, because it's a fun surprise. Are we going to get 5,000? Or are we going to get 2,000? So, and as of right now, we have about 500 people registered for both evenings, which is great. So we're hoping that builds, and we'll have fun. Let me go back to my presentation here.
Cory,
All right.
can I
Yeah.
just ask you, because I was going to bring up the ticket thing, because I think I saw it on Steve's site,
Yes.
that we needed to register for that, so thank you, Steve. And
Thank that. I'm part of the info flow.
But I got the tickets. Is there a limit to how many people per day we would have?
We capped it at 5,000 just because physically felt like that is what would make sense for the space, because it's a park. I mean, essentially the town common and park. So that's where we're at. But we can change that to less or more. But
I don't know what the right number is. I don't know how big 5,000 is compared to what you've done on the commons, but I guess more broadly, like, how is that going to be policed or supervised, or to whom am I going to show the tickets when I walk up?
it's a great question. So that's information we'll put on our website as well. It's mostly just for our planning purposes.
Okay, so
of
it's really
doing,
more
like,
to keeping track of.
yeah,
like,
and just
got it.
it's been great in the sense of more metrics at our fingertips to be able to be like, all right, how crazy do we think this will be, or not crazy? So, and I mean that in the best of ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And Marlboro has a similar registrants as well too, so similar
Okay.
numbers.
Councilor Griffith?
Oh, thank you. So to follow up on that, if people show up without tickets, are they being turned away, or, okay,
No.
good, all right. I
Yeah.
had a feeling that was the answer, but I wanted
Yeah,
to.
because we have like an information booth, and we'll have volunteers as well as like vendors, and we also have, as part of our overall planning, conventures, which is a planning group. They're actually the group that's organizing the tall ships and all of that going on in Boston. So we have some other staffers that will be there to help deal with any issues we may have of overcrowding, et cetera. Also, public safety is, of course, the police they're on this, they're gonna make this 100% feel like a Franklin event and very safe. So we have a lot of support systems in place in case there's overcrowding in any areas. And I also bought a megaphone, so I'm ready to kick people out and drop the hat.
We're all set.
I know.
I went to
I
UMass
know the
in
megaphone
person in the
details, so
early
that's cool.
2000s.
That's
I'm
really
not shocked.
It was so funny.
Anything else? Is any of the permitting gonna, I mean, I know for the farmer's market, we had a permit come in front of the town council. Does that have to come, anything have to come before the council for this event?
I don't believe so.
Nope.
Mostly just in front of Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm just torturing Jamie.
Yes. This is good torture, right? 'Cause it's fun. No, the only ones that come before you guys are and it's frustrating, is the Farmer Series for what's called the Farmer Series. It's state law, Section 19, for the local wineries, distilleries, and breweries. For some reason, all of the other stuff can be done by mostly me, but this one those have to go to you guys. So.
Even though this is a beer garden, it doesn't have to do any of that?
Because it's just a one-day liquor license.
Okay.
It's just beer and wine.
Okay.
So it's just a simple administrative item. It's pretty routine.
And did we have to work with Hayward Manor to sort of get use of their space?
Yes, we have. They've been
Thank you,
wonderful partners.
Hayward Manor.
Yes, they're
They've always been
incredible.
very good.
Yeah. I mean, this also beyond just the regional collaboration I was talking about, this is true, like a very Franklin moment and event. Like our beer garden is La Cantina, along with other beverage. Like it's all the Rome, like everyone's here. Everyone's coming out and having fun. So it's going to be, I also have like inflatable soccer balls. It's going to be great.
And then I also wanted to know, when I lost my train of thought, I think I lost it, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But in terms of, I totally lost it, but it's okay. I just wanted to thank you for putting all this together. I know it's out of your wheelhouse, but this is really good.
Max, I love soccer.
Football. speaking of that.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know if we're gonna have that problem. We're calling it soccer and they're calling it football. Oh yes, I remember what I wanted to say now. I know if I stall it a long time, we'll get to it. Is it possible to, in terms of the ticket signups, I don't know if it's already happened, but to get data on who was actually from Franklin and Massachusetts and who was actually international?
Yes, you have to put in your zip code, I believe,
Okay.
so you definitely can have that information.
And so if you're international, you don't really have a zip code. So
That's
you
true.
put-
So we'll have our regional zip codes, but if they're international, that's a good point. I'll have to find another solution for that.
Okay. Okay. Well, you got this. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other events you want to share with us?
I'm like,
Strawberry stroll.
yeah, I'm like, we are popping this month, let me tell you. So we have, I didn't even also mention it, the farmer's market. It opens on Friday. Yay, farmer's market. And then Saturday, PorchFest. The next week, we have strawberry stroll. I was just saying when I was walking in, I'm making an installation, which you will see the strawberry stroll, and it's all over my hands right now. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm also really excited because Marina, our director of planning, is bringing a new element into the strawberry stroll. We're going to have a kids parade. So get your kids ready, make them look like strawberries or whatever. Like my daughter is telling me she needs to be Sleeping Beauty covered in thorns. So that's okay, here I go. That's what I'm gonna do after this meeting. And then we also have the watch parties, and then we have Pride coming up on the 27th, and rain date is on the 28th. And then we go right into the 4th of July festivities. Like we are just like boom, boom, boom. Fun, fun, fun. Fireworks. It's gonna be a great summer for us.
Do any of my colleagues have any questions?
Just on the beer garden, how does that work? So who's selling the beer or wine?
Yeah,
You
so
said
we
La
have,
Cantina.
the vendors themselves are, so let me actually backpedal. So when you enter the beer garden, it's 21 only, and you have to show your ID to get into the tent area itself, and then you'll get a wristband. And then when you go up to the vendors, you have to pay and do all the transactions. And then you have to stay in the beer garden tent. You're not allowed to go hang out. It's a big space that we mapped out. It's in the parking lot area as well as a section of the grass. And let's see, and the vendors are doing their own POS systems. And we also will have police inside of the beer garden space as well, and a team member from Conventures, and myself and a megaphone.
Well, 2 drink limit.
Oh, yes.
So there's an officer at the gate, and then there's also an officer right at the serving point of service. So there'll be a 2 drink limit, and that's it. And I think, is there tickets? Or you just go up to the?
We'll have a wristband.
Wristband.
Sorry, that's what I was forgetting. I touched my wrist. I meant to say wristband. We'll
Do
have
they,
those as
okay,
well.
so but they're not doing tickets to buy them, right? It's just point of purchase?
No,
So-
yeah, and then we'll have a stamp on the wristbands too.
It's not like there's a beer fountain you can just open it.
No funnels, no funnels at this event.
England.
Who are the vendors?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Who are the vendors that are
We
selling?
have La Cantina, Michelob Ultra, and oh man, I'm sorry, at the top of my head.
That's okay. So it's a local restaurant. And
Yes, it's
Michelob, I guess,
local.
is probably be part of the FIFA organized crime family.
Well, you know what? It's actually Ryan. Ryan from the recreation. He connected with this vendor, which is great. Ryan has just been a dream to work with because he has guys like literally everywhere, and I'm just like, I need guys. Like this is awesome.
Any other questions? Any other events?
I think that's it for the next couple of months, and then we'll be cycling into the fall. We'll have Harvest Festival and networking event for the Cultural Council and cultural sphere of things, and then we'll lead right into a Wreath of Franklin, which we are still waiting to confirm the actual date, but it's all happening. So here we go.
Thank you very much. And are you here to discuss the visitor's guide as well?
I can be.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
through you, Mr. Chairman, so the marketing strategies was part of your work plan. It was kind of a light effort. Mike obviously isn't here. I will say, the next few meetings, you'll There's a bunch of other stuff that I think Councilor LeBlanc had a lot of interest into, like the tax rate stuff, new growth. We're trying to work on some dates over the summer to get the other meetings in July, August, September booked, now that the joint budget meeting has a date. And so we're going to try to coordinate with the board, new growth night, the tax rate night. We're rescheduling the permitting 101, which is part of the work plan, I think, for September 3rd. I mean, we're trying to still put all those pieces together. So a lot of the other more meaty stuff, I think, that was higher on the list will come up, when he's here. So we suggested just talking about the marketing strategies, and the only reason why I added that here was just as an example. We have $10,000, I believe, in the budget on marketing. It's moved around over the years. It used to be in planning. The council was very unhappy for, this is probably like 10, 15 years ago, with some of the work that was done in that. It was just kind of done in newspapers, a lot of the marketing about the town of Franklin. And then when I got here, they moved it up to my office. And that's when we did like Worcester Business Journal. We did a bunch of other like strategic publications to get the town's name out there, our reputation, the liquor license issue that we don't have a quota, just some other ads like that. Then the budget got cut several years through and through. I think it's back in, and I think it's now in your actual budget. And so we have $10,000, and I think, if the subcommittee has any recommendations or ideas or questions, but we wanted to show at least where one of our ads is going in the, are you pulling it up, Cory? In the,
Just bragging about my own marketing.
The Metro West Visitors Bureau, we did buy, I think, a back page ad this year.
Yes, we did.
With the Visitors Bureau, because that guide is going out through all the World Cup channels. So we tried to get a featured spot. We didn't pay as much money as the one on the back cover, who we couldn't outbid, but Stacy David, Franklin resident, did give us a nice spot in the back of the guide. So I don't know if you want to talk about that really quickly.
Yeah, and we also have, so as I mentioned earlier, going over some of the marketing, sorry, my allergies are killing me here. Stacy created a specific Metro West Guide fan zone, so that also has all the sponsors and everything affiliated with the watch parties themselves, which we also, are distributed in a regional capacity. And then the other normal timeline of the Metro West Visitors Bureau guide that also is going out. And I'm also on the board of the Metro West Boston Visitors Bureau, and I really think they do a wonderful job with connecting with different partners. And every single time I go to these meetings, it's so beneficial for Franklin in the sense that it's like, oh, we should be doing that. Oh, we should connect this way. And it's been really helpful, and I think also really got us to where we're at in regards to the watch parties and things too, because I already knew a lot of these people, so it was easier to work together.
Thank you. Steve, do you have any comments on this topic?
No, sir. All good.
Caroline?
Likewise.
I actually was wondering if maybe we can, since we have this account with $10,000, we're trying to figure out what to do with. Is it possible for Liz to maybe do like a policy brief where it's just like, these are the options, and these are the pros, and these are the cons of each of this, and this is maybe what we'll get the most impact for?
Sure.
Because I think, I don't want to just pick one and say, oh, we should go with this. I think we should look at all the options and choose from that.
Happy to do that.
Just, anyone disagree, agree?
I think that's great.
You good?
Yeah, good idea.
Okay.
Could I actually bring another thing up too?
Yeah.
Thinking of what you're talking about, thinking of our department works. So someone was asking me a question of well, why can't Liz just do like what you're doing, which is it's different scopes of work dramatically. In that part of the marketing that goes into the cultural tourism is connecting the campaign, like the campaign itself becomes part of the art in the project. Thinking of one of the projects that I'm dying to do is configure a municipal-based gallery, and that in itself is something that is unique and isn't done, and it hasn't been done in the region. And the traction of foot traffic and social media metrics we would hit in launching that type of campaign, and behind all the scenes of like, this is how we're revamping this building, this is how the lights are going in, all of that. So all the steps in the project complement the work itself, whereas Liz as marketing is absolutely necessary as well, in the sense that it's thinking of Restaurant Week and gathering all those intel, like just going over the difference of scope of work. So I just wanted to mention that.
We were also talking about us as counselors and how we market things differently than the town, or is that not what you're getting at?
Yeah, but that, I feel like that.
You think, because
checks
I
out.
know, I had a conversation with Town Administrator Helen earlier about, the fact that we can get out in a different way that's different than the rest of the town, and I think it's more of a communication subcommittee kind of thing. But,
Yeah.
to market things that the town necessarily can't legally do.
Yeah, I think both committees, this is all economic development too, right? In some ways, so
Yeah.
Any other comments on this topic? Hearing none, we'll move on to general discussions on next steps, priorities, and questions. We have the work plan list again. I know we had some recommendations in some from the last meeting. Were you able to, or could you still incorporate some of those, or would you be able to? So the last,
sorry,
I know we had technical difficulties.
No, I just X'd out of the document for some stupid.
Okay. So at the last meeting, we talked a little bit about, the three of us talked about what our top two priorities were. And then we also talked about, or from my perspective, I've talked about how trying to incorporate some of the goals back into the work plan.
Hold on, just 1 second.
Sure. Folks don't mind, we'll take a brief,
Just give me 1 second.
While you're thinking on that, did we hear anything back from the folks at UMass Boston? I don't know if Mike did, or...
We have not. So Marina is working with them. I'm trying to balance, because I got lists here for communications as well as EDC. So we're expecting them to come back in August to give a revised scope of services, and then there'll be like a final comment, and then that'll get Professor Wiggins all set for when the students start in January. Yeah, so I'm just trying to nail down those dates. There'll probably be some doodle polls coming out on Monday. And then the new growth is another one in the summer to try to get the Board of Assessors to confirm them to come in to start talking about new growth and I think tax rates in general. And then at some point, I think I was saying to Councilor Morrongiello earlier in the meeting, at some point we've got to talk about like the whole council's, I know everybody wants to do stuff here on tax rates, but I think still you need to have a broader discussion because all 9 councilors are going to have views on this. There's going to be a lot of public comment. And so, you can kind of get a little primer going at the EDC a little bit maybe, but I think it's duplicative to have it all here and then you're going to talk about the same thing at the council, because I know other councilors that aren't on the EDC have been doing some research and kind of want to chime in, which they can't do necessarily here.
Okay, just pause. I just want to know if there's any objection to that from any of the members to have it come before us and then it come before the town council as a whole for them to look at.
Like the same full workshop, or just as Jamie said, a primer?
Yeah.
Okay. I have no problem with us getting kind of a, an overview so that, we can maybe speak a little bit more articulately when in front of the whole council, but I don't think we should duplicate the whole thing.
Okay.
Or do you want to make a formal recommendation, go through many meetings with do you want to have just the EDC do all of it, and then the EDC can make a recommendation to the council? But I think then you're probably still going to have other councilors that are passionate about this issue, right? So I think it's tough. I don't know. This is up to you guys in terms of process, but.
Can we invite other counselors to those meetings?
They can all listen.
They can't participate.
Otherwise, you're just posting council meeting. That's really, it's not that bad, right? It's just that but then what's the point? You're posting a council meeting so that other councilors can participate. Why aren't you just doing it at the council level?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of alternatives, because I know some of the other councilors have very strong feelings on tax rates and what we should do and how that works. And I think we really, when we initially talked about it, wanted to get a lot of participation from all the stakeholders involved, developers, property owners, commercial vendors and so forth. So I don't know. I would be uncomfortable making a recommendation about what I think we should do as the subgroup without the feedback of everybody else.
Caroline?
I agree, and I think that this particular issue was kind of spearheaded by a counselor who's not on the EDC, so I would think that we should make sure that the full council is involved.
I did have a recommendation. Could we recommend as EDC that a ad hoc committee be appointed, and that has the groups of people that are most vocal on that from both sides to work it out? Turn it over to anyone who wants to comment on that.
Again, I still think the whole council will want to weigh in on it. At the end of an ad hoc group would be not too much different than us necessarily. I just think it's an important enough topic that it requires a fair amount of community participation, full council participation, a lot of deliberation. And timing is important, right? Because it's going to be before we know it. We're going to have to vote on the tax rate first week in December. So to decide to make a change or do something radically different, not a lot of weeks between now.
Do you feel like we should get a primer first, or do you think it should just go straight to the council?
As long as it's productive, I think we kind of wanted to take it on as a charge as part of potential economic development tool. So I'm wondering if we can, at a high level, kind of set the table for what the rest of the council should be talking about in terms of what we should be considering and what steps we want to take.
The other option is you can focus on new growth and leave the tax rate issue separate. I mean, they are separate issues, right? I think your work plan really focused more on new growth. They get conflated and they're obviously interrelated, but we could focus with the Board of Assessors or others on new growth and then save the entire tax rate, split tax rate exemptions. I had 3 meetings generally blocked out in October and early November. I had like 3 workshops. I mean, if you can't get to some consensus after 3 entire council meetings on a tax rate issue, I think that gives you enough. I mean, it's never enough runway, but
Those are council meetings.
those are council meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, I blocked off. Bobby and I talked about probably at least 2, but then 3 meetings. And you could generate a long night with all of those, right? It's very complicated stuff. There's a lot of misinformation that's out there. The Board of Assessors really should attend that, probably all of them. But I blocked them just to kind of make sure, because I knew everybody wanted to start fresh, wanted to have a lot of time before. But that gives you the October meetings, the November meeting, and then November 18th, your meeting is going to be your budget recap anyways, and then the tax rates after that. So you're almost already fully booked until the holidays, if you think, unless somebody wanted to change that and not have that much tax rate work. But I think new growth is separate, and that is economic development, because that's zoning changes, right? Like, where are we putting things? Where do we want to prioritize development or not? So you could do that separate and take that on as an EDC, which is more traditional economic development.
And I think that's interrelated to new growth with tax rate too, just getting a better sense of the assessment process for certain commercial properties, what recipes they use for that, how they calculate what they do. Changes to that could have a big impact on, quote, new growth, right?
Right.
So I think maybe we start there to focus on that and then bring it back to the rest of the full council, as you suggested with those meetings.
Caroline, did you want to add anything?
No, I think that if we are focusing on new growth, I think that we'll have a different, I'll have more information to bring as the EDC to the tax rate conversation, as kind of Steve just said. So I think I don't have any objection to getting a primer here if we decide we want to do that, but I don't think we should put too much time and effort in it here when I think the full council should be more involved.
So I have 2 things. One is I also want to make us look at the, see if there's any additional senior tax exemptions we could apply, have that part of the mix. The other one is, could we have, instead of making a recommendation, could we say, these are 3 options we can do? Because it's not just a yes or no with the split tax rate, it's what do we set the multiplier or the, so we could say businesses pay twice as more taxes as residents. We could say they could pay 1% more. It's like, if you do have a split tax rate, what's the right amount? And so maybe we could have an option which is, you know, 1, you do nothing, 2, you do a little bit more, 3, you do a lot more. And then we just have to figure out what those numbers are, and then recommend, these are what we thought. So some options to sort of set that discussion for the council. And I'll get your feedback.
I still feel like that's
That's too much.
probably, I feel like that's probably something, again, that the rest of the council is going to want to weigh in on. You know, again, I don't have a problem with saying, like, there are ways we could do this, but I think, I mean, I'm sure, I know at least one of them has lots of thoughts on this already. So.
Yeah, I think we all kind of know what those 3 options are right now, right? So I think any work that we do should be kind of more focused on the impact of making a change, whether it's big or small, and are we hearing from the right constituents what can be impacted from that, right? I'm personally I'm a very pro-business type guy, so I want to make as business-friendly an environment as we can, but I'm open to the ideas of, you know, maybe looking at a change in the tax rate, and I want to hear from businesses on what that impact is.
So what I'm hearing is we're going to gather information. We're not going to make a recommendation, but we're just going to gather information, have a primer, and then kick it to the council. Is that what we're hearing? Is there any objection to that?
No.
Hearing none, that's what we'll do. Can you continue? I interrupted you earlier with your report.
We're trying to get a gotcha.
I recognize, sorry, I recognize Steve Sherlock.
Just to add to the discussion, because as Jamie is alluding, you're thinking through the different timelines, the different structures, et cetera. One of the things that after the split tax had come up with the tax rate setting, number of businesses already expressed interest in having a forum to discuss amongst themselves the pros and the cons with, like, the United Chamber of Commerce as also a facilitator in that discussion. And we'd have that discussion, it would be recorded. Potentially then we would invite a counselor or 2, again being mindful of open meeting law, to a second discussion, so that having set the stage on what the business is, to your point, the businesses have a view, having at least some good representation, and then have some interaction with a couple of the counselors, whether it's pro or con, I don't care, as long as it's a healthy discussion so that the information is both accurate and available to help inform the discussions as they go. So I don't have a specific timeline yet, but realistically, the first one would happen sometime in July, and then if you're willing, then the following, not just you, but other councilors would be willing, that would happen in an August timeframe. And again, depending upon schedules.
And this would just be a private meeting, not...
This would be like a special Franklin Matters recording session, having a topic on a discussion. I've got a similar one because the schools potentially have a screen time issue, and there's people who want to express their focus on the screen time as well. So I've got 2 facilitations coming. That's my piece, doing some work to help the community discussions, which from your body, you just need the information, and clearly engagement of the right folks, and that's one of the things that we hopefully can help bring to the table, to at least have a number of people do, and then start the discussion. Well, he said that, but I really want to do this, and get it going that way, right?
So Steve, this is already in progress. You're already working on.
I've already got
this and-
at least a half a dozen folks that have been identified, just a matter of setting the time, and then doing that first recording, sharing it, and then having kind of the feedback, and then hopefully, you know, a couple of people willing to go forward for that second conversation.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your efforts on
Just
that.
wanted to put it into the mix.
I appreciate that.
Steve, anything on that?
No, thank you, Steve. That's good comment.
All right. And I interrupt you twice now, Mr. Helen.
Okay. Pretty common. And then don't forget, your fall is going to be occupied by the downtown project, I think, quite a bit. So I do have I do think we're going to have 2 to 3 high school interns for the summer. There's a menu of projects that they're going to have. One of them is going to be trying to work with Marina on the industrial park. That's going to take some time to scope out the vacancy rates, like what's the commercial land opportunities, are there underutilized properties, And that stuff, I think that'll take a little while, but at least we're gonna try to get at least some more information, because we don't really have a lot of good information. We're looking for Marina to come in at one of the convenient times for her to give the GATRA update, because she's our GATRA board member. I don't think you're gonna see a tremendous, I did see the GATRA administrator last week at an event. I don't think you're gonna get a lot of updates. They're all in World Cup as well, so they're focused on that. And then over the summer, I'm gonna be meeting with Cory about planning out the cultural festival next year. I think the council at the hearings kind of really wanted to have the cultural festival come back in 2027, so we're gonna talk about that. And we also have public art strategies, which is on your work plan. Because she's so busy and I'm so busy, our summer's gonna be circling back. We had a public art policy draft that was last couple years. Still needs some work, but we have a great foundation for it, so I think that's something that you had on your list. And obviously some of these other issues, Historic District Commission, signed bylaw reforms, and some of the council goals were more oriented towards other boards and committees. I will say, as a quick update on design review, Marina did apply for a one-stop grant with the state to try to get the technical assistance to be able to work on the sign bylaws. But unfortunately, we had a mass exodus of members from our design review committee, and now I don't think they have a quorum. So we're gonna have to do some recruitment to get some new bodies, which is a little disappointing, because the people that did not re-up their terms were the primary folks that were pushing for a whole comprehensive, rewrite of the bylaws. So we're losing in that some institutional knowledge as well, which is a little disappointing. But that's the list that's on here, on your work plan. I don't know if that answers your question, Councilor Morrongiello.
No, I think at the last meeting, we have a separate, our goals and our work plan are separate, and I was thinking they should be the same thing.
You mean the town council goals?
Or the EDC goals.
So I had a draft work plan. It still has draft on here. Is this, I know it's still, there's some scribble on here that I probably have to clean up with question marks and things. But are these the topical areas you're looking to do? Do you want to add more topical areas? I will say like zoning is not on here. But I think until you have a conversation with the Board of Assessors, I know Councilor LeBlanc wanted to recircle back on the King Street zone that had been denied a couple times in the last 15 years, right next to the fire station. I will say that is something that we've tried to zone as either office, business, or commercial industrial in the past. And as everybody probably knows, if you don't, all the neighbors have objected to that habitually. So I don't know what to do about that. If y'all want to consider that, those two parcels there are completely surrounded by extreme noise. Fire station to the left, EMC Dell behind, and the Atria Assisted Living to the right, which has a frequent path where the fire department goes over there all the time from the ambulance. So that was something else that's not on this list, but if there are other zoning ideas that you think are economic development drivers, we could put on here zoning concepts as throughout the year. I don't know.
So I'll open it up to my colleagues. Is there anything on this list that is on the goals list, or one of the goals that we came up with under when we reviewed the economic development goals that you want to see in the work plan?
I'm sorry, but is it kind of a difference without a distinction?
So I think we should do it all, but I got my understanding we're prioritizing the things in the work plan. Is that correct?
Well, the work plan items I've tried to lay out just as I did throughout meetings, throughout at least the calendar year. There still is a whole other year next year. So, but you also want to leave some flexibility. I think things come up throughout the 2 years, right? But this is your list. I think I agree with Councilor Malloy. I'm not sure the distinction here, but I think the question really is: do you want to formally say this is your work plan, and are these the goals you're having? I can merge them with the other document. That's not hard, but
I just want to make sure that if this is what we're working on, eventually we'll get to the rest of the goals too. And I'm just getting the sense that if it's not in the work plan, it's not going to get done.
I see what you're saying. You think the goals will not be focused on.
Right.
okay. Like fixed transit bus route, climate leader designation, recycling center, DC and C1 districts, all those.
Yeah, and like I said, I want to balance, I have my interests, of course, but I also want to balance with the rest of the committee. But I think that, we have these goals, we should put them into the work plan if we're going to actually do them.
So you guys want me to shuffle some of those priorities up? I mean, I just gave you a kind of, I gave you kind of a list already. Do you want to take some of the work plan items off so that we can, or you have an ambitious list, as long as everybody's sober at the end of a couple of years and says, hey, we got half of them done, that's great. Like, you don't need to make this too.
I don't really want to be too overly bureaucratic about it. I take your point, Max, you don't want to lose sight of some of these things. I feel like some of them are fairly easy to address one way or the other. Fixed transit route on 140, explore options, that kind of overlaps with the GATRA, I would think, right?
Yeah.
So maybe
Merge them?
look at, I think one feeds the other.
Yeah.
As we get an update from GATRA, I don't know a lot about how all that works, but we could do that. Climate leader designation, we can have a discussion on what that means, what the impact of that is.
It's like 7 criteria, you guys can review them.
I've seen that, and it seems like, I know we've talked about it in the past in terms of, I guess.
Do you feel like there's an issue with permitting currently? Is that something that can be, is there, do we have a problem with permitting that we need to address it, or is that something that Michael wants on there?
I don't remember who mentioned it.
Because I think that's something we can replace.
I will say on permitting, I will say this, you're gonna find it very hard to streamline things more than we do it, right? Like, most of this stuff with ZBA and planning board are generally related to some sort of state initiatives, right? So you're gonna find it hard. We're very well known for having some of the best permitting, in the area. Businesses tell us this all the time. If you want to go through it and have I think part of that was having a conversation with the planning board, conservation, ZBA at a meeting to see if there was other little things we could other red tape that could get cut out. It could end up being just a large, long meeting, but you may get some other feedback.
Yeah, we need Mike to be part of this conversation since he kind of initiated and generated some of this. My recollection on that was, is there something we can do to speed up permitting so it's faster from, concept to design to execution?
Right.
So I think that was the genesis behind what he was looking to do there, which makes some sense. So, and with respect to goals and work plans and so forth, I'd like to, I don't want to make a decision tonight. I'd like for Mike to be here to get his feedback on a lot of this.
And just to point out, the last thing on the work plan is federal goals.
I know. It just feels like a side note,
That's fair. And some of them, I'd love to explore composting. But I feel like that is something we don't necessarily need an entire meeting, or we don't have to necessarily put it in the meeting. It can be something that if someone is working on it behind the scenes, I've already reached out to
We're going to make a lot of
Gus.
money on composting. Is that an economic development?
I do think that.
Well, I think you can lower the amount of trash that goes in, so we're not paying as much for that. If we're composting, I think there's a way to balance and.
I will say, I'm married to the climate leader stuff, but also Marina was very excited to be able to work on the form-based code stuff.
Yeah.
And that stuff we have to look at, ultimately.
Yeah.
So I would.
All this is like extraordinarily complicated. I just want to preface, like, if you don't not familiar with zoning and even 101 capacity, these are projects that you're gonna, like, I think the downtown, thing with UMass Boston is gonna take a long time, right? That's gonna be, and maybe it doesn't include all of you for meetings, right? But I think you're gonna wanna be there for some of this stuff. Marina also has a lot on her plate right now. I don't know where she is with form-based code, but I can check in with her and see if that's something we can update. We can do an update in the fall.
Yeah, I think if that would be. How much slack do you have in this work plan? Like, how much? You say we have another year of stuff we can plan.
It's hard to map out right now because I don't know how many meetings we all have. I think the budget's got to get approved. I think once the budget stuff is done in the next couple weeks, if things are approved, job descriptions will go out. Job postings, if those are approved. If they're not, that's fine. I think those decisions are a big decision, right? So I think the same thing with new growth. I think if the administrative assistant position doesn't make it through the budget process, then you know, Kevin's answers at New Growth are going to be different than the Proof. So I don't think we've lost sight of these. I think that these are just some of the more complicated issues. And some of these, I will say, I mean, they came to the EDC, but some of these, like, I'll just go through really quickly, like the Beaver Street Recycling Center, as everybody knows, there's we have to go through a solid waste master plan process with DEP. That's in process right now, but we have to cap in line under a consent order the dump the town used for 50 years to dump all its trash in that hole. So that's going to be a pricey endeavor. And that's a consent order from DEP. We don't have a choice. Like you either do it or you're paying fines, right? So I mean, that one I think you can kind of hold off on for a while. I think form-based code and 40R are two that may be more leaning toward economic development because you're talking about zoning and redevelopment and new growth. Climate leader is really a council level one, and the next step on that really is a sustainability committee. But I think the thing you all are going to have to consider is, can you afford any of this? And there ain't no way you're going to have the money to be a net zero anytime soon. So you're going to subscribe to something that you can't finance. I mean, I think you guys have to give very serious, you know, consideration to that. It's expensive. And even a sustainability committee may be the budget-friendly step. But then you also have to think about staff time, right? The sustainability committee doesn't just go over work by itself. They're calling me, Kevin, others to go to meetings, to have conversations, and they're going to advocate, I think, for money. So I think, you know, maybe there's some role there for grants, but we're also seeing a lot of grant programs drying up, and I think the income tax question this year is going to have a big impact on that as well. So those, I mean, I was planning, I think you had requested to have that in the council agenda like in July or over the summer, so I was trying to work with Bobby to do that.
I would actually be okay if it can come, because I'm just, you know, I'm also curious about what the composition would be, and I think it's important to make sure we have the right mix of people.
Exactly.
So I would personally, if we could have the sustainability, the draft of what that looks like, that language looks like, come before us, just so we make sure it's
You can do
what
that.
we want. Like I said, is there any objection to that? Do people disagree, agree?
No, I think we can pursue it at least that far and go through it. And I know we've touched on it a couple of different times, and, you know, I think it's, some of these things get complicated and expensive pretty quickly, and our priorities, we have to kind of go through that and just see where that all shakes out.
Okay.
So, but I think we can take that step at least. to
Okay.
Look at that.
Carolyn, you agree with that?
Yep, I agree.
Okay, so then we're all.
Probably do that. We could probably do that at one of the July meetings if everybody's okay having a couple
And
topics.
the other thing too is we could stagger it so that it only takes effect once we have a deputy.
Correct.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other goals or anything else that should be in the work plan that's not currently in there, my colleagues?
Just to go back to one of the items on here in terms of a business summit, Jamie,
Yeah.
I know,
Thank you.
great idea, good concept. I don't know if you, and there's a lot in flux right now, and we'll know more in a few weeks just what resources we have and how to time that. But I'm kind of excited about the potential for that, you know.
I appreciate that. That was a random, thank you. That was a random thing I brought up when Amy was here. And when she started, we had talked about it. And, you know, I mean, then, you know, the issues at the hotel and all these other things start coming up and, you know, suck time away from this. You know, I would think that, input too, like, if the deputy comes on board and you can do something like this, I think it takes a little while to plan, but I think the idea was just to get Franklin area businesses in a room to know that who's with each other. So if you're a hotel, here's the catering folks. If you're at, you know, if you're looking for printing, here's so-and-so, and just trying to get people together. We envisioned it possibly at like Glen Farmer in the upstairs room there, which seats a couple hundred, and just trying to have a networking event and trying not to over speech it, you know, over delineate it, just having people get together and just try to create the Franklin magic. And then the idea is like you try, like kind of like what you know, Cory has done with some of the events and Restaurant Week. You have 10 this year, and maybe next year it's 20, right? And you just try to grow a summit every year to just try to get people in a room and make sure everybody in town knows who one another are and that they're selling it, and try to not make it into a 6-hour thing, you know,
I
just a
think
few
there's a
hours.
lot of power in that, I really do. And
Try to make it simple, not
Yeah.
overly complicated with 28 speeches, right?
Right.
So that's something I think the time of year is a critical decision on that. I don't know when the right time of year is. Things get busy right now, but a lot of things happen in the winter. But I think, depending on the timing of all this could be something that an assistant town manager can take on pretty quickly and maybe do in March or, maybe May or something like that. And we're open to ideas, but maybe I think the summer's a bad idea. Maybe next fall. I don't know.
Maybe the fall, and if we can pull it together that quickly.
I would be in favor of a business summit. I do also think we could partner with the local Chamber of Commerce, because...
Do you know who they are?
Well,
There's two. Hold on. Yeah, this is a trivia question.
oh boy, I know it's something...
Well, he said it as a singular, so I was...
I met with them, I know them.
Yeah, it's okay. There's three.
There's three, okay.
So we have three. So we're in Metro West Chamber of Commerce, we're in United Chamber of Commerce from Attleboro, and we also have Tri-Valley Chamber of Commerce, which is like Milford. So we'll invite all them. We actually had them come to an EDC meeting a couple years ago. We had the 495 Partnership, the Visitors Bureau, we had all those organizations come and talk about who they were. We could do something like that again. But we would try to partner with those organizations to certainly be there. And all of them would have some sort of role, possibly a sponsorship, to try to help chip in for some of the costs of something like this. Would be something we're tossing around with Amy when she was there. But we actually are stuck in the like.
Is that in the middle of you?
Got that last night? Like a clown's through. So yeah, I had a good drop on that last night. Thank you for that.
I laughed.
What's that?
I laughed, but I was...
Oh, good. You did laugh? Oh, you were? Okay.
I just wasn't sitting to your left.
I just felt like the healthcare was like the perfect example of that. But yeah, I mean, we're stuck in three areas, and I've always personally believed we should be our own. There's enough power in this community and enough resources, but I think that's also a conversation we've said with the Downtown Partnership. Are we going to expand out and do more? And they've kind of not, wanted to do that. So you look at Easton, the town of Easton has their own Chamber of Commerce. So I mean, it'd have to be a third party, nonprofit, it'd have to be another organization, but I think we're stuck. We're kind of conveniently in everybody, so we kind of go to everyone, but we don't really have a permanent home. We're a little kind of, nobody really comes to us all the time, but we kind of interact with all three. It's kind of strange. So we're kind of in no man's land.
And we could do both, right? We can kind of develop our own kind of network and infrastructure, dust all that off, get that program going, get those businesses to know each other, get them to know the town administration and the resources here that will help them succeed, and then grow that regionally, because there's a lot of money in this general region, right? So a lot of hungry people want to come eat.
A lot of people shop here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was actually the idea behind the summit, was to see if you could plant a couple seeds and see if any of them grew into something, more locally and centered around Franklin. Because as you said, when you look at data sets, and I put them in the agenda a while ago, people come in to Franklin a lot, and so it's good for all of our retailers for sure. So,
Councilor Griffith, did you have any comments you wanted to add, or any objections to adding a business summit to the work plan?
No, I did not.
Okay, well, therefore it's unanimous that it's in there.
okay, great.
Any other updates, Jamie, on the work plan or anything you have on?
What I'll try to do is I'll try to just get rid of some of the question marks and try to make it a little more formal, and talk to Marina about some of the roles she'll have, and just try to make it like a little bit more formal, and try to merge it in with the other stuff that we can get. So just kind of as a list.
Any other, anything else? Any other new business?
Not for me.
Hearing no new business, the meeting is now adjourned.
We are now producing this in collaboration with Franklin TV and Franklin Public Radio. This podcast is my public service effort for Franklin, but we can't do it alone. We can always use your help. How can you help? If you can use the information that you find here, please tell your friends and neighbors. If you don't like something here, please let me know. Through this feedback loop, we can continue to make improvements. And I thank you for listening. For additional information, please visit franklinmatters.org. If you have questions or comments, you can reach me directly at suresteve@gmail.com. The music for the intro and exit was provided by Michael Clark and the group East of Shirley. The piece is titled Ernesto Mañana, copyright Michael Clark and Tintype Tunes in 2008, and used with their permission. I hope you enjoy. By the way, you can also subscribe and listen to Franklin Matters Radio on your favorite podcast app. Search in podcasts for Franklin Matters.